But low vis stuff, you're going to carry like a submachine gun type thing, like an MP7 or MP5 or something like that. Out of those, I liked MP7 because it still had tons of velocity. You could reach out there and hit somebody. It had good penetration, even though it's a really small bullet. Whereas like the MP5Ks and the MP5 SDs and stuff like that, I just didn't find those to be powerful enough. I had to shoot some stuff with that, and I was surprised. It was actually where I learned this at. We were asked by the regular Army commander of a base when I was in the Omega program. He's like, "Hey, you guys have suppressed weapons. We have a dog problem. Dogs are attacking people when they go out and run. Could you guys go out there, and if any of these dogs come up and attack you, could you shoot them?" And so we're like, okay, that was a big problem in Afghanistan. Wild dogs would attack the crap out of you. So we went out there and we shot some of the MP5 SDs, and it didn't even phase these dogs. It didn't even phase them. They were just yelping and running off yelping.
So is that firing, is the MP7, what's that firing, a 40 cal or a 9 millimeter?
It's a really small projectile called a 4.6 millimeter. So it's a really small projectile, about the size of the same diameter bullet as like your pellet rifle would shoot when you're a kid, but it has a ton of powder, so it's traveling like 4,000 feet per second or close to it.
Damn. So it's coming at you fast, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and it's a solid projectile too. So like I shot a dude in the chest with it one time, and it went through his magazines, through his spine, and out the other and out the back. I mean, it just left like an ice pick hole. Didn't open up very much, but it just zipped right through like a
And
laser beam.
did he die almost instantly from that?
Kind of. I mean, I was putting him in his chest, and it, like I said, it's not a whole lot of impact. He actually squeezed this trigger as he was dying and fired off some rounds into the ground. So it didn't kill him instantaneously, but if I'd have punched him right here, it would have. But I was shooting him in the chest at the time, and I mean, had a shot group about like that, dead through his magazines, through his chest, through his spine, and out, and he dropped.
So tell us the story. What caused you to have to engage that guy?
So that was another mission. That was when I was at Omega 50. We were going down to walk. We walked like 10 clicks in on this target. Got there, had some. It was supposed to be a fighter camp, and this was the CIA's intel that we were going off of, which typically is like, from when I worked with them, was kind of atrocious. Like a lot of times it was nothing. Their intel it didn't pan out a lot of times. So we were like going on this mission thinking it's not going to pan out like normal. So got a little bit complacent halfway through a deployment. We get there, and then it's one of those things, like I saw these dudes with like these big turban like things on with big mullah beards, and we're like, man, this seems like legit. Those dudes look like high up dudes walking out. We saw them walk out. We kind of let them go, and then we were setting all of our dudes in, setting the indige in to go hit the target. And I said, hey, I'm going to go get eyes on this target. So I went to kind of creep in to get eyes on the target. And as I'm sneaking down this little narrow path, there's like a mud wall built up on one side, and then the path is on a levee that drops off into like a river. But there's trees on the bank of the river that are growing over the path, so it's like a really shaded, covered path. And then to the left, down inside where the compound is, with like grape huts where they would like harvest grapes and let them dry. And then the actual compound where the bad guys were. So I'm like creeping up, looking over the wall, and then looking over here, and I had two Canadian snipers from their tier 1 unit up there.
JTF 2.
Yeah, walking with me, and these guys were in front, but their ROE was different than ours, so they couldn't engage unless being shot at directly. So they saw this dude that was guarding the front door of the compound, and they beat it up on him, started speaking to him in Pashto, and I was probably 5 yards or so behind them, maybe 10 yards, and there was a tree limb down in the way, so I couldn't see what they were talking to. So I pushed up and I swept the tree limb out of the way, and then I could see a dude clearly standing there with an AK, which is all, game on for me. So I came right up between the middle of them and just started drilling that dude right in the chest. And I didn't have a whole lot of time. I mean, that MP7, if you punch it in the head, it's going to just drop him. But I didn't have a whole lot of time because this dude was already aware. So I just went straight for the chest, just drilled him in the chest, and he dropped down. And then I looked over the wall. Those guys ended up diving off to the sides. I don't know where they went. I never really saw them again. But I look over to the compound, and there's dudes that are awake now. Like this guy fired off unsuppressed AK rounds after I shot him in the chest. He dropped. I looked over the wall. There's dudes crawling for their rifles, and I shot this one dude as he was crawling. I mean, he was less than 10 yards from me. I punched him right in the head, shut him down right away. And then there was other dudes crawling. I'm tagging them in the head. Meanwhile, all the SEAL Team 6 dudes and the ground branch guys are now online with me. And we're like chucking grenades in there, shooting. I ended up reloading, getting a mag change. And actually, right before everybody came up, I forgot, like as they were kind of coming up, a dude came out of the target building with like a PKM, like Rambo style, like holding the rounds and just like spraying up at us. But I was above him, and then I had that mud wall about 4 feet up. His rounds were pretty effective. They were hitting the wall close enough to where dirt was getting into my face and under my eyes. So I remember I had to like kind of squint so that I could see and the dirt wouldn't get in my eyes, and dialed it in and took a headshot on him. He fell back, busted a lantern that ended up catching the whole house on fire. There was like Chinese C4 and all kinds of stuff that ended up catching on fire in there. And then that's pretty much it. We ended up fighting some more, calling in some airstrikes and blowing the crap out of that place. Went back in, engaged another machine gun team, had some rounds zip between me and a SEAL Team 6 dude within like feet of us. Luckily, God was taking care of us because we didn't get hit. But ultimately, I think we killed about 45 bad guys on that target in a matter of probably 45 minutes.
The 45 bad guys in under an hour?
Yeah. I mean, most of it was CAS, like AC-130 dropping big bombs. Direct fire, we probably shot 15, 20, maybe guys or so. The rest were killed CAS.
Were you able to get off the target without anyone getting injured?
Yeah, as far as I know, nobody even got scathed, not even slightly.
That's incredible. I mean, that really is a testament to, I assume, really good training, air support, and kind of being fearless in the sense of, it's like you said, it's game on for you. And that guy had that AK. Did the Canadian snipers ever, once the shooting starts, were they able to engage anyone at any point?
Dude, I have no clue. Like that's the only time I recall those guys, and then they disappeared. The adrenaline kicks in and you focus kind of more narrowly. So maybe they were right there next to me. I don't know. I just don't recall seeing them again.
Is that so? Would you compare that or the Silver Star story to the craziest shooting you ever got into?
The Silver Star one, I was definitely more worried and fearful. It was obviously earlier in my career, but we were receiving effective rounds. I mean, the closest rounds I had to hitting me and killing me was that dude with the PKM that shot up and hit the wall. And I think they were probably several feet below me hitting the wall and throwing the dirt up. So I just didn't really feel scared on that one, to be honest with you.
Before we get into the RRC stuff, is there any other really big notable gunfights that you look back from your career and you're like, man, that was a crazy one?
Not really. And I know you've talked to a bunch of guys, but most gunfights, at least in the GWAT, where like we're walking in, there's a couple of dudes moving, they may try to shoot at us, and it's like every dude with a gun is like and just rages on them for like 10 seconds and the gunfight's over. I mean, so a lot of them end up like that. And then you may get in one here or there, but most of the time we just overwhelm them so fast. And
Fast.
I mean, we're wearing night vision. We're shooting suppressed guns, shooting with lasers that are infrared. You can't see them with a naked eye. So most of the bad guys don't even know we're there when we shoot them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they don't have much of a chance. All right, I want to talk about the regimental reconnaissance